Beautiful souls, thanks for joining me in the kitchen today for another episode of the Soul Food Pod. Remember, you can find the link to today's recipe in this episode's description or on the soulfoodpot.com. Today we're talking about our famous soul food chicken yak recipe, Yock-A-Mein. This recipe is a Google feature whenever you search Yock, Y-O-C-K, Y-O-K, Yock, Tidewater Virginia Yock, Yock-A-Mein, amongst many other ways to regionally say the name. And make sure you subscribe to our Instagram at Shonda Nicole for our special Yock Party post featuring Yock recipes made by you, beautiful souls. So let's not wait another minute. We have an incredible Listen to the Recipe episode cooked up for you today. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Soul Food Pod, the first podcast dedicated to the history and culture around Southern soul food. I'm your host, Shonda Nicole, your go-to recipe creator for modern soul food cuisine, making life easier and more soulful, one recipe at a time. This season, I'm bringing you into my kitchen to listen to the recipe as I prepare iconic African-American dishes, unveiling the secret ingredients and step-by-step instructions. You'll learn soul food culture, history, proper seasoning techniques, how to speed up traditional Southern soul food recipes, and how I efficiently use modern kitchen appliances to make your favorite traditional dishes. I'll teach you how iconic African American recipes are now easy enough for anyone to make and everyone to love. Most Southerners know barbecue, cheerwine, and Krispy Kreme, but have you ever heard of Yock? Southern hospitality is an essential part of soul food. You can taste the Southern charm. Something about the slow pace and easygoing nature of it all makes you feel at home. So when you're hungry, there are some great Southern recipes and dishes to try out before settling on a favorite, like Tidewater Virginia chicken Yock. What kind of food is Yock? Soul food chicken Yock is a meal that's an ode to my hometown in coastal Virginia, the Tidewater region, area code 757. We say 2 up, 2 down, 2 fingers up for V, and 2 fingers down for A, Virginia, VA.
Hey!
If you Google this soul food Yock recipe, Tidewater Virginia Yock, followed by Norfolk Yock, will be at the top of the list. So what is chicken Yock food, or Yock-A-Mein? People also ask, what is chicken Yock? Chicken Yock is a big bowl of comfort. You may know this dish from its menu names like New Orleans Old Sober, or its Chinese derivatives, Yak, Y-A-K, Yak, Y-O-K, Yock-A-Mein, Yak-A-Mein, or simply Chinese Yak. Or maybe you know this dish by its African American nicknames given over the years, Low Rent, Low Main, and New Orleans 7th Ward, Maine. What ingredients are in soul food chicken Yak? Is Yak Chinese food or is it soul food? Season 1 of The Wire cut many folks down to the white meat when it suggested that Yak is not Chinese food and most definitely a soul food dish that Black folks created. But I tend to think that Yak just may be soul food and Chinese food combined. A soup-like dish traditionally made from boiled chicken, noodles, egg, spices, and broth, then topped with your choice of American ketchup, Chinese soy sauce, or Black folks' favorite hot sauce. Soul food chicken Yak has a warm, brothy, and flavorful profile that pleases most. It's a cosmopolitan dish of sorts, crossing ethnic food boundaries. That's why most Chinese restaurants in the urban communities of Norfolk, Virginia, are sure to have this featured selection on the menu. How do you make chicken Yak? Like most soul food recipes, the key to making this dish is to season the chicken to perfection and cook it in a flavorful broth until it's tender. What is Virginia Yak? So the Virginian Pilot published an article to tell the story of Yak's murky history in Tidewater, highlighting the African American dish with the slippery noodle and dark brown broth or sauce. In this article, they interview a Tidewater native who tells a story of how Virginia Yock came to be a thing in the early 1900s when African Americans were drawn to the area by government jobs. So, what are people saying about Chinese restaurants in Norfolk, Virginia? Quote, when Chinese restaurants opened in Black neighborhoods, Yock grew out of the owner's attempts to create something that the local clientele would really like, end quote, from the Virginian pilot. A dish we really like might be an understatement. When I was growing up, it wasn't unusual to see a sign on an apartment door building or a church bulletin board taking orders for soul food chicken Yock. This meal is loved so much that someone in the Black community would take the time to stew over a large stock pot of Yock all day. All this cooking with no instant pot, mind you, for serving Yock to the masses. Now, what kind of noodles are used in Virginia Yock? Boiling chicken with either spaghetti noodles or ramen noodles to sell Yock dinners within the community. That's a recipe for a Virginia Yock. If you were to talk to an old head from the Tidewater area, they'd probably smile and then chuckle at nostalgic memories of this neighborhood dinner distribution, what was once called a Yock party. Today's Yock parties, Yock dinners for sale that is, are announced via Instagram with a hashtag Yock. Now, can you make soul food chicken Yock in an Instant Pot? There are definitely contemporary versions of Louisiana's 7th Ward, Maine, or Old Sober and Virginia's chicken Yock recipe. One such is Yock made in the Instant Pot, what I like to call magical meals in minutes. And what kind of noodles do you use for chicken Yock? People also ask, what are Yock noodles made of? What I think they mean is, what noodles do you use in soul food Yock? Some dish variations include spaghetti noodles, while other recipes include lo mein. What will you choose to have in your chicken Yock? The noodles are tender and the chicken is flavorful thanks to the garlic, Creole seasoning, chicken bouillon, and soy sauce that give it an authentic flavor. You can serve soul food chicken Yock at your next party or gathering, or enjoy it on a cozy, quiet night at home. So here's what you'll need for the Soul Food Pot's Virginia Yock recipe. All right, for kitchen equipment for chicken Yock, you're going to need, well, I use the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker, and that's how we'll walk through this recipe instead of a large stock pot on the stove. So the ingredients for chicken Yock are going to include 2 cups of cooked chicken breast, 8 ounces of uncooked spaghetti noodles, 4 cups of chicken broth, 1 cup of water, 2 teaspoons of chicken bouillon, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of onion diced, 2 cloves of garlic minced, 2 teaspoons of Creole seasoning, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 hard-boiled eggs cut in half to garnish, 1/4 cup of green onions chopped to garnish, and then soy sauce, hot sauce, or ketchup for serving condiments. All right, beautiful souls, here are the instructions for chicken Yock in the Instant Pot. So you're going to open the Instant Pot lid and turn it on with the saute setting for 5 minutes. With the Instant Pot lid off, saute the butter, onions, and garlic until the onions soften, and you can cancel the saute setting after that. Then pour the water and the chicken broth into the stainless steel inner pot with the sauteed onions and add the chicken bouillon. Add the Creole seasoning, salt, pepper, Worcestershire sauce, and chicken to the broth and stir the mixture. Then break the uncooked spaghetti noodles in half and submerge them into the broth. Now close the Instant Pot lid, ensure the valve is up if you have an older model in the position for sealing, and pressure cook on high for 2 minutes. When the cooking is finished, allow a natural pressure release for 5 minutes. Then open the Instant Pot lid, move the valve to venting, and manually release any remaining pressure if applicable. If you have a newer Instant Pot model, just press the button to release the pressure. Serve this chicken Yock soul food recipe hot with warm garnishments of hard-boiled egg and chopped green onion to garnish. Black folks eat Yock with either a squeeze of soy sauce, hot sauce, or ketchup on top. Enjoy. Now, what do you serve with soul food chicken Yock? Yock is a dish that can hold its own, let me tell you. But you can also have other Southern soul food classics alongside this iconic recipe. So here are a few soul food recipe favorites to try with it. You can add Black folks' homemade cornbread on the side. Black folks' southern cabbage recipe also goes good with Yock. You can also eat it with Black folks' buttermilk fried chicken. And for dessert, keeping it New Orleans style, add some Black folks' southern bread pudding or banana pudding for Tidewater Virginia Yock. Now, beautiful souls, you had a lot of frequently asked questions about chicken Yock, so let me dive right in. So, what are Yock noodles made of, you ask? Yock recipes include protein-loaded ingredients like boiled chicken, chicken broth, chicken bouillon, spaghetti noodles, or chicken noodles. And don't forget to top the dish with halves of boiled eggs. They're an essential part of any yummy Yock noodle dish. And what kind of meat works well with Yock? You have a few options when choosing meat to put in your Yock. The most popular type to put in Yock is chicken. Then you can also add beef and pork. They're also great choices for a beef Yock or a pork Yock recipe. I've even seen someone on the gram use oxtail over ramen when they made homemade Yock. Sounds good. Now, what goes in a Yock-A-Mein recipe? Or what do you put in your Yock-A-Mein? Yock is a soul food Chinese noodle dish found in many Chinese restaurants in Louisiana, Virginia, and up north in Maryland and Washington, D.C. The noodles are typically stir-fried with chicken, beef, or broth. Other ingredients like garlic, soy sauce, and sesame oil make Yock-A-Mein taste so delicious. Yock-A-Mein can be served hot or cold, but it's traditionally eaten warm because this helps to keep all the flavors mixed. What kind of sauce do you use for Yock? Soy sauce, ketchup, and hot sauce are the most common condiments for Yock. Which one's your favorite? I know ketchup is pretty popular in the Tidewater, Virginia area. So no soy sauce, no problem. Try sriracha, Tabasco, or hot sauce favorite, Texas Pete instead. Now, what's the difference between lo mein noodles and spaghetti? So we talked about what goes in with your noodles with Yock, but what's the difference between the lo mein noodles or the spaghetti noodles that you might choose for your Yock? The answer is all about eggs. See, spaghetti does not contain eggs, but lo mein does. So if you're looking for a noodle dish that doesn't have any eggs, go for spaghetti. But both noodles are equally as delicious. Now, how would you rate Yock-A-Mein? You can make chicken Yock in various ways, but this Instant Pot recipe is the easiest, my highly rated way to make Yock. It's a mix of white or dark meat chicken in broth, salt, and pepper with soy sauce, ketchup, or hot sauce to top it off. There aren't too many ingredients involved, so you know this has to be a good dish when it all comes together. Yock is a dish that can hold its own, or it can go perfectly alongside other soul food dish classics. You can even add more veggies on top for balance if you like. And you can get as creative as you want with your recipe for Yock, just like its name, Yock, Y-O-C-K, Yock, Y-A-K, Yock, Y-O-K, Yock-A-Mein, or Yaka, Y-A-C-K-A, mean. Now, keep the Yock parties going, beautiful souls, whether at home, gathered together, or shared virtually online on the gram. And until next time, remember that food for the body is not enough. There must be food for the soul. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Soul Food Pod. Did you enjoy today's conversation and recipe? If you want more easy to make soul food recipes and Southern food for the soul, then follow me for ideas that make your life easier plus more soulful. Subscribe here to the Soul Food Pod and subscribe to my food blog, thesoulfoodpot.com. On the Instagrams, follow me at Shonda Nicole. Have you had today's recipe? Would you make it? Comment below and let me know. And make sure you rate this podcast 5 stars and subscribe for all the soul food.